30 days exactly since this happened, of course, made huge headlines at the time. 30 days later, the family is saying we have yet to see any sort of accountability. What does that look like in a case like this, especially when we're talking about U.S. Park Police and their chase policy?
Sure. So there's a lot to unravel here. There's a lot packed into this one story. On one hand, you have a tragic death. You have a prosecutor's office that hasn't charged anyone yet because they say they're waiting for enough evidence in order to be able to file charges and have them actually stick. On the other hand, you have an issue where as of last August 2025, the President Donald Trump signed an executive order giving U.S. Park Police more leverage, more leniency, more ability to do police chases. If you compare the U.S. Park Service with the D.C. Metro Police Service, you can see the discrepancy. The D.C. Metro Police only engages in high-speed chases if they have to, if they've exhausted all other avenues. However, the Park Service is the summary would be more chase unless there's a reason not to. And here the question is, did that policy actually end up resulting in this tragic death?
And if it did, what is the recourse the family could potentially have from all of this? Obviously, like you said, it is a tragedy, but still at this point, a month later, there has been no charges. There were initially, and then those were dropped.
Yes, and that is unusual. However, I wouldn't necessarily be too quick to criticize the prosecutor's office on this. They don't want to file charges that they don't have evidence for and then have the case, thrown out for lack of evidence. So it's unusual in a high profile case like this where there's somebody was killed, for them not to file charges and have a month go by and the people that were allegedly involved in this to kind of basically be walking the streets. But I think it is more important to look at the long run here, although I don't know why it's taking so long for them to get evidence enough to file charges. And then the other issue is, as you said, is the new policy for the U.S. Park Service responsible for this in any way? The family can sue law enforcement for this. It's very difficult sometimes to sue law enforcement. There's all kinds of legal challenges. And ultimately, this is a question of risk versus necessity. And that always has to be balanced. And no one is ever going to get that right. The question is, do the current policies facilitate too much of a risk?
And one of the things, in addition to the accountability, the family wants some transparency because there are a lot of surveillance cameras, a lot of CCTV along that corridor that it seems like they have yet to see in all of this.
I agree. So I think that's something that everybody can agree on. There's going to be people who support law enforcement who say they need to be able to do what they need to do to stop crime, to keep the public safe. There's going to be people critical of that saying, listen, we need to always have checks and balances, even on the government, even on the police force. And here we need to question what happened and were the policies effective or were they too risky? But I think something everybody can agree on is transparency. What happened? Release audio, release any policy decisions, communication, so the family can have those.
All right, we'll see when that happens, if that happens, and when and if those charges are filed as this case continues to move along. But at the end of the day, an innocent man lost his life very needlessly, and we heard from the family today. Joseph Tully, always good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Homa. Take care.
All right, moving on. Montgomery County is lowering the speed limit on neighborhood streets and downtown boulevards. Officials say the goal is to promote